You ready?
Yep.
Right, we're rolling. We're just here still at Cold Christmas Church, and we're just trying to get a sense and a feel for the place. We're not rushing things tonight. We want to take it nice and slow and hopefully get some good recordings. I just came over here to have a call of nature, as it were, and not on the brickwork, I hasten to add. And I've got another feel of something around here. So we're definitely being watched. That's the feeling I'm getting. So I think as we're trying to suss, I'll say the them and us, which I don't like using because that separates things, but for the purpose, they're trying to suss us out, we're trying to suss them out. And I think that's the general pattern that we're getting, because we're getting a good surge of good feeling energy, then it subsides and it goes really dark, as even Janice has said as well, which I fully support and agree with. And then it comes back again. So it's almost like a pulsating rather than an intensity. So when we get quests like this, I always find it better just to go with it rather than fight it and try and rush it. So we're just going to ask again, just to see. But there's definitely a calmness about it, which is not what I expected. So is there anyone that wants to communicate with us and talk to us at all? Show us a sign that you're here, and hopefully we're not disturbing you too much. Just a minute ago as well, offline. It's always offline, isn't it? Yeah, right. But it was offline. One of our colleagues, Kerry, she felt something stroking her stomach and lifting up part of her top part of her clothing. She also felt something brush across her face, which was quite interesting. So I think there's something that's trying to communicate with us. We're just trying to get some kind of... Have you? Okay, so let's head over this way then. It's always good to work with your colleagues and take on board their feelings as well, because there's...
We've been seeing some flashes.
We've been seeing some flashes over there.
Okay. You sure that's not your camera light getting a wild animal or something like that?
No,
No.
she had it pointed in a different direction.
Right,
And
okay.
I said, what was that over there?
Right.
Kerry said she saw it there. And then I've seen some more fainter ones.
So we'll just keep the camera rolling as we can see as we go through. Also, there's one thing I must say on camera, is that when we first arrived, as bizarre as this sounds, when we first arrived, I said, oh wow, there's a mausoleum over there. And I actually saw, as clear as day, a mausoleum just over there where Kerry's been energising, just over in this area. But then I walked towards it and it wasn't there. So you said, well, did you just imagine it, or did you really see it? I know what I saw, it was very clear. And that's what I said to the guys. I said, oh, that's really odd to find something like that here. But it's not here. And that's what's even more interesting. So we should keep the camera rolling to see if we can get any type of EVP as we go. By the way, just for the purpose, I always like to go off track sometimes for the film, but I don't know if we can see up there, but earlier on we had the chemtrail going across over that area. The way it's gone now, it's actually triangulated round. I don't know whether you can get that on the camera. There's actually it's actually now within a triangle of chemtrail that will spread out, and
Yeah.
you can see it, Janice. Yeah.
Yep.
It's an absolute triangle going
It's
round.
like an isosceles, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And that they've created that, so that's always interesting, I find, these sort of things.
Got plenty of planes going over as well. So.
Yeah, which have no
No
trail whatsoever.
No.
Exactly. Maybe it's the main flight path for the London airports, I guess.
I mean, it's going down and almost creating an infinity symbol.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
They're trying to give us a warning.
Probably. Great. we're just going to do one more time, then we're going to leave this place in peace, because I think that you can do too much of annoying one place. If we were coming here for a night part, all we would do is just set up the cameras. We wouldn't have a tent. We'd have like a pop-up gazebo for shelter. Have a little fire burning in a metal burner, and we just leave the cameras and film all night really, and see what we get, and take random photographs to see what we get here. At the moment, obviously, we're not looking to be here for too much longer, because the sense I get is that we really shouldn't be here for too much longer. I think for now we've probably outstayed our welcome. I certainly feel that way. So, Cold Christmas Church, fantastic place. I bet it's beautiful to see during the day as well, if you like that sort of thing, for the architecture at least. Wonderful at night time as well. We're going to go offline now, because I think we have outstayed our welcome here, and we'll track on down to the next place that I want to show you guys briefly, into another one of the most haunted villages of this area. But there's quite a few of them in England, but we're just going to go to there as well on the way, and we'll show you that shortly. Great, we're at Datchworth Church. Now we must be quite insane, because it's Friday evening around about 9:30 I think. It's certainly freezing cold on a November night. But the church itself is actually well looked after. It was, oddly enough, it was built in 969. The reason why I say oddly enough is because, it's mentioned in the Doomsday book, but its original origins are Norman, and even then it goes back beyond then. There's been a religious building on this site since about 500 BC, BCE, whichever way you want to say it, but 500 years before the current calendar. Again, you get a feel of sense of general energies around, general feeling of things going on. Hoping we get something on the EVP as always, but I don't even know how much of the church you can see at the moment, so I'm at night time here, but it's certainly got. I find it quite surreal that all the lights are on at the church. That might just be for security and protection of the church itself. There's some interesting points to make about Datchworth. Is that it had its fair share of the Black Death, as we know, back in that day. And most importantly, there was a royalist rector that was ousted in 1643 in the Great Civil War. Now that's, bear that in mind guys, 1643 was the last English full-on civil war that we had. So, that's quite a few hundred years back. So we're probably well overdue for the next civil war, I guess. But that was the last one. Now, the rector was ousted in 1643, but after the Civil War, that lasted quite some time, and all the upheaval and the changes that happened, especially in this area of Hertfordshire, Datchworth itself, and leading down to the London boroughs. The rector was reinstated in 1660, so he actually had almost like a 17-year sabbatical before he went back into post when he was reinstated after the Civil War itself. So, I mean, the English War, the Great War, was an amazing story on research to see and know about. We always hear about civil wars in other countries, but not necessarily this one. The church has a lot of energies and feelings about it. There's certainly different things going on here. It's quite nice actually doing these videos because I always find it quite interesting for comments that we get on YouTube. Always very good. We always enjoy people coming to see and watch these things with us. But most importantly, we're always intrigued by who actually watches them as well. I mean, I had a story told to me just the day before last about how some authorities were finding our YouTube videos rather interesting. Not that it's got anything to do with them whatsoever, and quite frankly, they can mind their own fucking business. But at the end of the day, what we do is some good research, some light-hearted work, some ghost hunting along the way, and we try and work out the myth and the legend and try and work out what's truth and what's not truth from all the stories that people hear about ghost tales and things. So yeah, we put ourselves out there to do these things, but quite frankly, so do hundreds of thousands of other people in the UK. But needless to say, the church itself is great. It's a shame, obviously, this time of night we're not going to be able to get inside. There's certainly some pictures. I mean, Carrie's been taking some great photographs again. We'll just have a little walk around this way. I don't know how much you can go around to this side without tripping over anyone's grave. We have to walk on a couple, but try not to walk on many. But they certainly look after the area very well. I mean, you just get a sense it's a very... Again, some of these villages in Hertfordshire are quite surreal, really. They're almost like they're way... they're there, but people don't even know they're there. You know, you just blink and you miss them. But I say it's really, really looked after. There's lots of stories here, as always, about different things that have happened. Because of the Black Death that happened here, we had lots and lots and lots of people that died in this area. And obviously, bearing in mind, back in the day, there were not so many rectors available to give last rites and blessings. So people did come here and seek guidance from that said rector at the time for what was happening in England with the Black Death, the plague, basically. So I guess that's where a lot of the weird senses, and Hertfordshire's got a lot of history in regards to the Black Death. It's high percentage portion, which you'd think it more in the cities, but Hertfordshire itself is in the sort of suburbs, and the province of Hertfordshire has much more information about it. The things that spring to mind here are tales of the Black Death, obviously, the Civil War, the Great War, with the rector, and it's said that rector still roams these grounds on some of those stories, but who knows? Is that true? We'll soon find out. There's I get the feeling that we're not welcome here. That's the first thing. It's an amazing church. It's all floodlit. It's got CCTV, which I'm really pleased to see. You don't want people stealing stuff, that's for sure. So they've got some good security here. But generally, on a metaphysical level, I get the feeling that we're really not meant to be here. But we're going to be here for a little while, and just have a good feel all around. This church has been here, or there's been a building on this church, don't forget, since 500 years prior to the modern current calendar. So for anyone who don't, we're looking at 2,500 years of history. That's a reasonable time to certainly have stories and tales. And you can probably see, because I always find that quite interesting, and no one ever questions it. We have 2,500 years of a religious building being on this land, yet I see probably about 1,000 gravestones in 2,500 years. So where are all the others? Simple. What happens over time, like most things sadly in life, once they expire past a certain time, they're smashed down and made way for new graves, redug over and reused. They're nice reused. So, people always forget that. They see these graves, oh, that's a really old graveyard. Yeah, but that church has been there for, say, 1,000 years, blah, blah, blah. Where are the rest of the graves? They're everywhere. Where you're walking at, they're everywhere. It's the reality of life. The only thing that we're blessed with, I guess, in the provincial areas of England is that you don't have to pay rent so much on graves. In the London boroughs, you have to pay rent once every 6 months or once a year, and if you don't pay the rent, your tombstone is removed, your flowers are taken away, it's redug over and re-rented to somebody else. That's the state of play in England today, because of overpopulation. Yeah, I think as you can see, I don't even see here, but there's loads and loads of different gravestones around. But you can see where there's different styles to the actual buildings. It's like there's bolt-ons, and that's certainly been added on afterwards, which I guess will be like the little kitchen area, I guess. A lot of churches these days have toilets and things, which are quite useful, which they never had before. The spire itself is not out of the ordinary. I don't know how much you can see right at the top there. But the spire itself is not out of the ordinary. It's a standard sort of spire for the time. It's been obviously redone over the years. So bear in mind there's been building upon building like a lot of churches, so there's different ages of brickwork and architecture built in there over time. But as a rule, it's a very nice church. It's got a sense of peace and calm. It's got a sense of nothingness, really. Quite an absence, really, as well, which is weird. Makes you wonder what would have been here and how it would have dealt with the Black Death, plague. Events have been quite different then. Just follow down here. But all of the all of the graveyards are absolutely beautifully kept. It's very nice to see, actually. They're all beautifully kept. But I think that's about as much as I could say about Datchworth here at the church. We'll have a little drive around the village and see whether we can see some of the other areas. This is in fact Bury Lane, and there was talks of horsemen, the usual bits of horsemen, headless horsemen on Bury Lane. But as being one of the most haunted villages in the UK, there's a lot of people that try and proclaim that title. I'm not quite sure whether Datchworth actually makes that mark.